Logan Parker had always dreamed of being part of something big. He never imagined that something big would come crashing into his life, literally. The young linguistics student was stationed on a small outpost orbiting Titan, one of Saturn's moons. It wasn't glamorous work, but it paid the bills and gave him access to some of the most advanced translation software in human history. Logan spent most of his days decoding signals from deep space, hoping for a message from intelligent life. What he didn't expect was to meet it face to face. It happened late at night, or what passed for night on the station where artificial lights mimicked Earth's cycles. Alarms blared through the halls, jolting Logan awake. He stumbled out of bed, pulling on his uniform as he hurried toward the source of the commotion. A damaged alien vessel had crash-landed just outside the station. The crew scrambled to respond, suiting up in protective gear before stepping onto the icy surface of Titan. The ship was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Its sleek design suggested speed and precision, but its scorched hull told a story of violence. Whatever had been inside had taken a beating. When the team finally pried open the hatch, they found 2 occupants, an injured alien lying unconscious, and a small, furry creature curled up beside it. Logan froze when he saw the little creature. It looked almost cute. Its fur shimmered faintly under the dim emergency lights, and its large glowing eyes blinked slowly as if assessing them. Despite everything, the strange ship, the unknown alien, it was hard not to feel drawn to this tiny thing. One of the engineers joked about adopting it, earning nervous laughter from the group, but Logan couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it than met the eye. The alien stirred weakly, groaning in pain. The medical team quickly moved to stabilize it while others debated what to do with the creature. No one wanted to leave it behind, so Logan volunteered to carry it back to the station. As soon as he picked it up, the creature let out a soft chirp and nuzzled against his chest. It felt warm, comforting even, like holding a living plush toy. For a moment, all the fear and uncertainty melted away. Back inside the station, the mood shifted. The alien, now identified as Virex based on preliminary scans, remained unconscious in the medbay. Meanwhile, the creature, nicknamed the Fluffball by the crew, quickly became the center of attention. Everyone wanted to pet it, play with it, or simply watch it explore its new surroundings. It seemed harmless enough, bounding around the corridors like an overexcited puppy. Yet, despite its playful demeanor, Logan noticed something odd. Every time someone got too close to restricted areas of the station, the Fluffball would growl softly, baring its teeth. Those teeth were sharper than they should have been for such a seemingly innocent creature. While the rest of the crew fawned over their newfound companion, Logan tried to focus on learning more about Virex. The alien's language was complex, filled with sounds humans struggled to replicate. Using the station's translation software, Logan pieced together fragments of speech. Most of it didn't make sense, but one phrase kept repeating itself. Danger. At first, Logan assumed Virex was referring to whatever had attacked its ship, but the tone changed whenever the Fluffball entered the room. Then Virex's voice grew urgent, almost panicked. "What are you trying to tell us?" Logan muttered under his breath during one of his visits. Virex's eyes fluttered open briefly, locking onto Logan's face. Its lips moved, forming words that sounded distorted, yet clear enough for Logan to catch. Not safe. Not safe? Logan frowned. How could something so adorable be dangerous? He glanced over his shoulder where the Fluffball sat perched on a chair, watching him intently. Its head tilted slightly as if curious about the conversation. Logan shook his head, dismissing the thought. Maybe Virex was delirious from its injuries, or maybe it was warning them about something else entirely. Over the next few days, the Fluffball settled into life aboard the station. It followed Logan everywhere, refusing to leave his side. Some of the crew joked that it had imprinted on him like a baby bird mistaking the first thing it saw for its parent. Others teased that Logan had found himself a new best friend. He didn't mind. Having the Fluffball around made the isolation of deep space feel less lonely. But not everyone shared Logan's enthusiasm. Maya Rodriguez, the station's lead engineer, was wary of the creature from the start. She'd been the one to notice the scratches appearing overnight on equipment and walls. At first, no one believed her claims that the fluff ball might be responsible. After all, how could something so small cause so much damage? Then came the incident in the storage bay. Cameras captured footage of the fluff ball tearing apart crates and chewing through cables. When confronted, Logan defended it, insisting it was probably just bored or curious. Maya wasn't convinced. "Curiosity doesn't explain why it's growing," she said one evening, showing Logan a series of measurements she'd taken. Sure enough, the fluff ball was getting bigger, much faster than any natural animal should. Its limbs were longer, its body bulkier. Even its behavior was changing. Playful antics turned into aggressive displays, and those sharp teeth gleamed menacingly whenever it bared them. Despite the growing unease among the crew, Logan refused to believe the worst. To him, the fluff ball was still the same lovable companion he'd brought aboard. He couldn't imagine it causing harm, and so he continued to care for it, feeding it, playing with it, and brushing its shimmering fur. Each day he told himself that everything would be fine. Then one night the alarms went off again. This time it wasn't an alien ship or a technical malfunction. Something was loose in the ventilation system. The crew scrambled to locate the source of the disturbance, but the fluff ball was nowhere to be found. By morning, 2 members of the team were missing, and Logan began to wonder if he'd made a terrible mistake. The mood on the station shifted after the disappearances. Fear replaced curiosity, and whispers filled the corridors. Everyone wanted answers, but no one knew where to start. The fluff ball, once adored by the crew, was now viewed with suspicion. Some suggested locking it up, while others argued it might be their only clue to finding the missing crew members. Logan, however, remained torn. He couldn't bring himself to believe the creature he'd grown so attached to was responsible for what had happened. Days passed without any sign of the missing crew. Search parties combed through every inch of the station, checking airlocks, storage bays, and even the exterior hull. Nothing. It was as if they had vanished into thin air. Meanwhile, the fluff ball continued to grow at an alarming rate. Its once soft fur had become coarse and bristly, and its glowing eyes now seemed to pierce through the dim lighting of the station. The playful chirps it used to make were replaced by low, guttural growls that sent shivers down everyone's spines. Maya Rodriguez grew increasingly frustrated with Logan's refusal to see the truth. She spent hours reviewing security footage, piecing together fragments of movement in the shadows. One evening, she called Logan to her workshop, her face pale and her hands trembling. On the screen in front of her was a grainy video clip showing the fluff ball sneaking into a storage bay. In its jaws, it carried something, or someone. The camera angle wasn't perfect, but there was no mistaking the limp form dangling from its mouth. Logan stared at the screen, his heart pounding. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, though deep down he already knew the answer. "It's not just me," Maya replied, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "Look at the damage in the bay. Claw marks on the walls, shredded crates. This thing is dangerous, Logan." He didn't want to believe it. How could the same creature that had nuzzled against him, that had followed him around like a loyal pet, be capable of such violence? But the evidence was undeniable. Still, Logan hesitated. "Maybe it's protecting itself," he said weakly. "We don't know what triggered it." Maya shook her head. "It's not protecting itself, it's hunting." Her words hung heavy, in the air between them. Logan left the workshop feeling sick to his stomach. He went straight to the med bay where Virex was still recovering. The alien's condition had improved slightly, allowing it to communicate more clearly through gestures and broken English. Logan hoped it could provide some answers. "Virex," Logan began, kneeling beside the bed. "What is the fluff ball? What does it do?" Virex's expression darkened. It struggled to sit up, wincing in pain before pointing toward the door. "Danger," it rasped, its voice strained. "Not companion, weapon." "Weapon?" Logan echoed, his mind racing. "What kind of weapon?" Virex gestured wildly, mimicking claws and teeth. Then it tapped its temple as if trying to convey intelligence. Logan frowned, struggling to piece together the meaning. Was the fluff ball some kind of engineered life form? A tool designed for destruction? Before Virex could elaborate further, the lights flickered. The entire station plunged into darkness, leaving only the faint glow of emergency lights. Alarms blared again, louder this time. From somewhere deep within the station came the sound of metal screeching against metal. Logan's blood ran cold. Whatever was happening, it wasn't good. He rushed back to the main corridor where the rest of the crew had gathered. Panic spread quickly as people realized the power systems were failing. Equipment malfunctioned, doors refused to open, and communication lines crackled with static. In the chaos, Logan spotted the fluff ball, or what was left of it. Standing near the end of the hallway was a monstrous version of the once cute creature. Its body had grown to nearly human height, its limbs elongated and muscular. Razor sharp, claws glinted in the dim light, and its glowing eyes locked onto Logan with an intensity that made his skin crawl. The crew froze, unsure of what to do. No one dared to move. Then, with a deafening roar, the creature lunged forward, moving faster than anyone thought possible. Screams erupted as people scattered in all directions. Logan ducked behind a console, his heart hammering in his chest. When he peeked out again, the creature was gone, and so were 2 more crew members. By morning, the station was eerily quiet. The power had been restored, but the damage was done. 4 crew members were missing, presumed dead. The fluff ball, now unmistakably a predator, was nowhere to be found. Maya confronted Logan in the command room, her anger boiling over. "You have to stop defending it," she snapped, slamming her fist on the table. "It's killing us, Logan. One by one." "I know," Logan admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "But we can't just kill it. We don't even know why it's doing this." "Why?" Maya shouted. "Because it's a monster. That's what it was made for." Her words stung, but Logan couldn't deny the truth anymore. The fluff ball wasn't a companion or a pet. It was something far more dangerous. And yet part of him still clung to the hope that it could be reasoned with, controlled somehow. He decided to revisit Virex, hoping the alien could shed more light on the situation. When Logan returned to the med bay, Virex was sitting upright, looking weaker than ever. It seemed to sense Logan's desperation because it immediately grabbed his arm, pulling him closer. With great effort, it spoke a single word. "Control." "How?" Logan asked urgently. "How do we control it?" Virex hesitated, then pointed to its own chest. "Pain," it whispered. "Force evolution." Logan didn't understand. Pain. Evolution. Before he could ask for clarification, Virex collapsed back onto the bed, exhausted. Frustrated but determined, Logan left the medbay to share what little information he had with Maya. Together, they devised a plan to trap the creature and force it into revealing its true nature. That night, the crew set up a makeshift containment area in one of the larger storage bays. Using scraps of metal and wiring, they created barriers reinforced with electric currents. If the creature entered the bay, the current would shock it, hopefully triggering whatever transformation Virex had hinted at. It was a risky plan, but they were out of options. As the trap was set, Logan couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. Despite everything, he still cared for the fluff ball, or at least the memory of what it used to be. He wondered if it felt the same way about him. Did it remember the days when it was small and playful, when it trusted him completely? Or had it always been a predator, waiting for the right moment to strike? The hours dragged on, each minute feeling longer than the last. Finally, just as dawn approached, the creature appeared. It moved silently, its massive form casting long shadows in the dim light. As it stepped into the storage bay, the trap activated. A surge of electricity shot through the barriers, illuminating the room in a flash of blue light. The creature screamed, a sound so piercing it echoed through the entire station. Its body convulsed violently, fur falling away in clumps to reveal sleek black armored skin beneath. Wings unfolded from its back, stretching wide as it rose to its full height. When the transformation was complete, The fluff ball was unrecognizable. It was no longer a pet or a beast, it was a soldier, and it was watching Logan with an unreadable expression. The transformed creature stood tall in the storage bay, its new form both terrifying and awe-inspiring. Its sleek black skin shimmered faintly under the emergency lights, and its wings stretched wide, brushing against the walls. The glowing eyes, that had once seemed playful, now burned with an intensity that made Logan's breath catch in his throat. It wasn't just bigger or stronger, it was something else entirely. Something ancient and dangerous. For a moment, no one moved. The crew held their positions behind makeshift barricades, weapons raised but trembling in their hands. No one knew what to do next. Should they attack? Retreat? Try to communicate? Logan stepped forward cautiously, his heart pounding. He couldn't explain why, but he felt drawn to the creature, as if some invisible thread still connected them. "Stay back, Logan," Maya shouted from behind him, her voice sharp with panic. "You don't know what it'll do." But Logan ignored her. He locked eyes with the creature, searching for any sign of recognition. For a split second he thought he saw it, the faintest flicker of familiarity in those glowing eyes. Then, with a sudden burst of movement, the creature lunged toward him. Logan froze, bracing himself for impact. But instead of attacking, the creature stopped inches away, tilting its head as if studying him. Its wings folded slightly, and its claws retracted into its massive paws. It let out a low rumble, almost like a purr, before lowering itself to the ground in a submissive posture. The crew stared in stunned silence. What had just happened? Was this thing playing games with them, or was there still a part of it that remembered Logan? Before anyone could react, another alarm blared through the station. This time, it wasn't a malfunction or power failure. It was a proximity alert. Something or someone was approaching the station. Maya checked the monitors and cursed under her breath. "It's not just one ship," she said, her voice tight with fear. "There are 3 of them. They're surrounding us." Logan turned to Virex, who had been brought to the control room after the transformation. The alien looked worse than ever, its injuries clearly taking a toll. But when Logan asked about the incoming ships, Virex's expression hardened. "Hunters," it rasped, struggling to sit up. "They want the Xiran." "The Xiran?" Logan repeated, glancing at the creature still crouched in the storage bay. "Is that what it's called?" Virex nodded weakly. "Weapon stolen from them. Dangerous." Logan's mind raced. If these hunters were after the Xiran, then the situation was far more complicated than anyone had realized. And if they managed to capture it, who knew what they would do with such a powerful weapon? "We can't let them take it," Logan said firmly. "We have to protect it." Maya stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "Protect it? Are you serious? That thing has already killed half our crew." "I know," Logan admitted, guilt weighing heavily on his chest. "But if we hand it over to them, it'll be even worse. We can't trust them." Virex interrupted, its voice barely audible. "Only one can control." "What do you mean?" Logan asked urgently. Virex pointed, to Logan, then to the Xiran. "Bond. Strongest." Logan blinked, trying to process what Virex was saying. Somehow, during all the time he'd spent caring for the fluff ball, a bond had formed between them. A connection strong enough to influence the Xiran's behavior. Even now, despite its transformation, it seemed to recognize him as its leader. Diwang. Realization hit Logan like a punch to the gut. He didn't want this responsibility. He wasn't a soldier or a commander. He was just a linguistics student who'd stumbled into something way beyond his understanding. But as he looked at the Xiran waiting patiently in the storage bay, he knew he didn't have a choice. "All right," Logan said, turning to the crew. "Here's the plan. We keep the hunters out as long as we can. If they break through, I'll handle the Xiran." "Handle it?" Maya shot back, incredulous. "How exactly are you going to handle that thing?" "I'll figure it out," Logan replied, though he wasn't sure he believed his own words. "Just buy me some time." The Crew exchanged uneasy glances but nodded reluctantly. They didn't have many options left. As the first hunter ship docked with the station, everyone scrambled to prepare defenses. Maya rigged explosives near the airlocks, while others armed themselves with whatever weapons they could find. Logan returned to the storage bay, where the Xiran waited silently. He knelt beside the creature, meeting its glowing eyes. "I don't know if you understand me," he began, speaking softly, "but we need your help. Those ships out there, they're here for you. If they get you, bad things will happen. Can you fight them? Can you protect us?" The Xiran tilted its head again, then nudged Logan gently with its snout. It wasn't exactly an answer, but it was enough to give him hope. Minutes later, the first wave of attackers breached the station. They were humanoid but clearly not human, their bodies covered in metallic armor, and their faces obscured by helmets. They moved quickly, firing energy weapons that cut through walls and equipment. With ease. The crew fought back as best they could, but it was clear they were outnumbered and outmatched. That's when the Xiran struck. With a deafening roar, it launched itself into the fray, moving faster than anyone could follow. Its claws sliced through enemy armor like paper, and its wings created shockwaves that sent attackers flying. The hunters tried to regroup, but the Xiran was relentless, cutting them down one by one. Logan watched in amazement as the creature unleashed its full potential, transforming the tide of battle. But the victory came at a cost. The station was falling apart around them, damaged beyond repair by the chaos of the fight. Fires raged in. The corridors and oxygen levels were dropping rapidly. Logan knew they couldn't stay much longer. As the last of the hunters retreated, Virex appeared in the doorway, leaning heavily on Maya for support. "Time to go," it said weakly. "Station. Collapsing." Logan nodded, turning to the Xiran. "Come on," he urged, gesturing toward the remaining escape pods. To his relief, the creature followed without hesitation. The crew piled into the pods, launching themselves away from the doomed station just as it exploded in a brilliant flash of light. In the aftermath, they drifted silently through space, watching the wreckage burn. Logan sat beside the Xiran, which had curled up protectively around him. Despite everything, he couldn't help but feel a strange sense of gratitude. The creature had saved them, even if it had also destroyed so much along the way. Virex spoke up, breaking the silence. "You did well," it said, its voice softer. "Now, Xiran chose you. Bond unbreakable." Logan sighed, staring out at the stars. "What happens now?" Virex hesitated, then smiled faintly. "Now, you run." And with that cryptic warning, Virex closed its eyes, slipping into unconsciousness once again. Logan looked at the Xiran, then at the vast emptiness of space ahead. Whatever came next, he knew one thing for certain. Life would never be the same. The escape pods floated silently through the cold expanse of space, their occupants battered and exhausted but alive. Logan sat huddled in one corner, his body aching from the adrenaline crash that followed the battle. The Xiran curled protectively around him, its massive form radiating warmth despite the freezing temperatures outside the pod. Its glowing eyes scanned the darkness beyond the small window, as if waiting for another threat to emerge. Maya sat across from them, her face pale and streaked with dirt. She hadn't said much since they escaped the station, her usual sharpness dulled by shock and fatigue. Occasionally she glanced at the Xiran, her expression torn between fear and awe. Finally, after what felt like hours of silence, she spoke. "What, now?" Her voice was quiet, almost fragile. "We can't just drift out here forever." Logan sighed, rubbing his temples. He didn't have an answer. Everything had happened so fast. The attack, the transformation, the destruction of the station. Now, stranded in the middle of nowhere with a monstrous alien creature, he wasn't sure how to move forward. But one thing was clear. They couldn't stay where they were. "The pods have limited fuel," Maya continued, checking the controls. "If we don't set a course soon, we'll run out of air before anyone finds us." "Set a course for what?" Logan asked bitterly. "Earth? Another station? We've got a giant alien weapon sitting right here. Do you think anyone's going?" To welcome us with open arms? Maya hesitated, glancing at the Zurin again. You're not wrong, she admitted. But we don't have a choice. Sitting here isn't going to help anyone. Before Logan could respond, Virex stirred weakly on the other side of the pod. The alien had been unconscious since the escape, its injuries making it difficult to stay awake. Now its eyes fluttered open, and it let out a soft groan. You must go, Virex rasped, its voice barely audible. Hunters will return. Go where? Logan asked, leaning closer. We're stuck in these pods. If we try to land anywhere, people will see the Zurin and freak out. Virex shook its head slowly, wincing in pain. Not Earth, not human worlds. It pointed toward the stars, though its movements were sluggish and imprecise. Edge. Safe zone. Logan frowned. What edge? What are you talking about? The outer rim, Maya interjected, her tone thoughtful. He means the uncharted regions of space. Places no one goes because they're too dangerous or too far from civilization. Virex nodded weakly. Hunters won't follow there. Logan exchanged a look with Maya. The idea of heading into uncharted territory was terrifying, especially given their current situation. They had no supplies, no backup plan, and no guarantee of survival. But staying put wasn't an option either. If the hunters really did come back and Logan had no reason to doubt Virex, they wouldn't stand a chance. All right, Logan said finally, his voice heavy with resignation. Let's do it. Set a course for the outer rim. Maya nodded and began adjusting the navigation system. The pods hummed softly as they changed direction, their tiny engines propelling them deeper into the unknown. Logan leaned back against the wall, closing his eyes for a moment. His mind raced with questions. What kind of world awaited them at the edge of space? Would they find safety, or would they simply be trading one danger for another? Hours passed in tense silence. The Zurin remained still, its presence both comforting and unnerving. Every time Logan looked at it, he was reminded of everything they'd lost, and everything it had done to save them. He couldn't bring himself to hate it, but trust was another matter entirely. Eventually, Virex spoke again, breaking the quiet. Zurin needs purpose. Logan opened his eyes, frowning. What do you mean? It is a weapon, Virex explained, its breathing labored. Without mission, without master, it becomes unstable. Logan glanced at the Zurin, which seemed to sense the conversation was about it. Its glowing eyes met his briefly before lowering in what looked like submission. Logan swallowed hard, realizing the weight of Virex's words. The Zurin wasn't just a creature. It was a tool designed for war. And now, somehow, that tool belonged to him. I'm not its master, Logan muttered, shaking his head. I'm just me. You are bonded, Virex insisted. Stronger than any before. Zurin listens to you, follows you. Logan wanted to argue, to deny the responsibility being thrust upon him. But deep down he knew Virex was right. Whether he liked it or not, the Zurin had chosen him. And if he didn't step up, who knew what might happen? As the pods continued their journey, Logan found himself thinking about the future. Life as he knew it was over. There was no going back to the simplicity of studying languages and decoding signals. From now on, every decision he made would carry consequences, not just for him but for everyone around him. Days turned into weeks. The pod's resources dwindled, forcing the survivors to ration food and water. Tempers flared and tensions ran high, but they pressed on. The promise of reaching the outer rim kept them going, however faint it might have been. One evening, as Logan stared out the window at the endless sea of stars, the Zurin nudged him gently. He turned to look at it, surprised to see something resembling affection in its glowing eyes. For all its power and ferocity, it still seemed to care for him. Maybe it always had. We'll get through this, Logan whispered, more to himself than to the creature. Somehow. The Zurin let out a low rumble, almost like a purr, before resting its massive head on the floor beside him. Logan smiled faintly, feeling a strange sense of peace amidst the chaos. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. When the pods finally reached the outer rim, the sight that greeted them was breathtaking. A sprawling nebula stretched across the horizon, its colors swirling like liquid fire. Amidst the beauty, however, danger lurked. Strange ships patrolled the area, their designs unfamiliar and intimidating. Logan knew they weren't alone, but, for the first time in weeks, he felt ready to face whatever came next. With the Zirin by his side, he stepped into the unknown, determined to carve out a new path. The pods entered the outer rim cautiously, their tiny engines struggling to navigate through the dense field of asteroids and debris that surrounded the area. The nebula painted the sky in vibrant hues of red, orange, and purple, casting an eerie glow over everything. It was beautiful, but beauty often hid danger. Strange ships drifted among the rocks, their jagged designs looking more like weapons than vessels. Logan watched them from the pod's window, his stomach tightening with every passing moment. "We can't just sit here," Maya said, breaking the silence. "If those ships spot us, we're done for." Logan nodded, though he didn't have a better plan. Their resources were nearly depleted, and the pods wouldn't last much longer without repairs. But landing on one of the nearby stations or ships felt like walking into a trap. They had no idea who or what lurked out here. Before anyone could decide, the Zirin suddenly stood up, its glowing eyes fixed on something outside the pod. It let out a low growl, its massive body tensing as if preparing to strike. Logan followed its gaze and saw a ship approaching, a sleek, black vessel, unlike anything they'd encountered before. Its surface shimmered faintly, almost blending with the stars around it. "What is that?" Maya whispered, her voice trembling. Virex stirred weakly, squinting at the ship. "Reaper," it rasped, its tone filled with dread. "Hunters elite." Logan's heart sank. If this was another hunter ship, they were in serious trouble. The Zirin seemed to sense his fear because it stepped closer to him, shielding him with its body. For all its ferocity, it still acted like a protector. The Reaper ship didn't fire immediately. Instead, it hovered near the pods, scanning them with beams of light. A mechanical voice crackled over the comms, speaking in a language none of them understood. Virex translated quickly, its voice strained but urgent. "They want the Zirin," it said. "They will destroy everything else." Maya cursed under her breath. "Great, just great. So what do we do? Fight them?" Logan hesitated, glancing at the Zirin. It was powerful, yes, but could it take on an entire ship? Even with its speed and strength, the odds were stacked against them. Still, they couldn't surrender. Not after everything they'd been through. "We fight," Logan said finally, his voice firm despite the fear gnawing at him. "But not here. We lead them away from the pods." Maya stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "Are you serious? Where are we supposed to go?" Logan pointed to a nearby asteroid belt. "There. We use the terrain to our advantage. Maybe we can lose them, or at least buy some time." Without waiting for agreement, Logan opened the pod's hatch and climbed out, the Zirin following closely behind. The cold vacuum of space hit him instantly, but his suit protected him as he activated the small jetpack attached to his back. The Zirin leapt effortlessly into the void, its wings spreading wide as it soared toward the asteroids. Behind them, the Reaper ship gave chase, firing energy blasts that narrowly missed their targets. The asteroid field was chaotic, with rocks of all sizes spinning wildly in every direction. Logan zigzagged between them, using the cover to avoid detection. The Zirin moved even faster, darting ahead and then doubling back to ensure Logan wasn't left behind. Every time the Reaper ship fired, the Zirin would position itself between Logan and the blast, absorbing the impact with its armored skin. "Keep moving," Logan shouted into the comms, knowing the others could hear him. He didn't dare look back to see if Maya and Virex were keeping up. All he could focus on was staying alive. After several minutes of relentless pursuit, the Reaper ship suddenly stopped firing. Logan slowed down, confused. Was it giving up? Then, without warning, Smaller drones detached from the main vessel, swarming toward them like insects. Each drone was armed with sharp claws and pulsing lights, clearly designed for close combat. "This isn't good." Maya's voice came over the comms, panic evident in her tone. Logan gritted his teeth, gripping the handle of a makeshift weapon he'd scavenged from the station. "Stay close," he told the Zirin, though he wasn't sure if it understood. The creature roared in response, its wings flaring as it prepared to attack. The drones descended upon them in a blur of motion. Logan swung his weapon wildly, managing to disable one before another lunged at him. He braced himself for impact, but the Zirin intercepted, tearing the drone apart with its claws. Sparks flew everywhere as metal collided with metal, creating a cacophony of noise in the silent void of space. Despite the chaos, Logan noticed something strange. The Zirin wasn't just fighting, it was strategizing. It moved with precision, targeting specific drones while ignoring others. It seemed to anticipate their movements, striking before they could react. Whatever bond existed between them, it was growing stronger. The Zirin trusted Logan to guide it, and in return, it fought with unmatched ferocity. One by one, the drones fell, until only the Reaper ship remained. It hovered at the edge of the asteroid field, watching silently. Logan expected it to retreat, but instead, it unleashed a final barrage of energy blasts. The Zirin roared, spreading its wings wide as a shield. The force of the explosion sent both of them hurtling backward, crashing into a large asteroid. For a moment, everything went dark. When Logan regained consciousness, he found himself lying. On the asteroid's surface, his suit damaged but still functional. The Zirin crouched beside him, its body battered but alive. In the distance, the Reaper ship was gone, leaving only the swirling colors of the nebula behind. "Did we win?" Logan asked aloud, his voice hoarse. The Zirin let out a soft rumble, nudging him gently. Logan managed a weak smile, patting its snout. Despite the exhaustion and pain, he felt a flicker of hope. They had survived. Against all odds, they had survived. Back in the pods, Maya and Virex greeted them with relief. Maya patched up Logan's suit while Virex checked the Zirin for injuries. Both seemed amazed that they'd made it through such a brutal encounter. "You two make quite the team," Maya said, shaking her head in disbelief. "I never thought I'd say this, but thank you, big guy." She gestured toward the Zirin, which tilted its head curiously. Logan chuckled softly, leaning against the Zirin's side. "Yeah, well, guess we're stuck together." As the pods resumed their journey deeper into the outer rim, Logan allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. Life had changed irrevocably, and there was no going back. But maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. Out here, far from the rules and expectations of humanity, he and the Zirin could forge their own path. Together, they might even find a way to survive. And somewhere in the vastness of space, the Reaper ship lingered, its crew plotting their next move. The hunters weren't done, not yet, but neither was Logan Parker. The pods drifted deeper into the outer rim, their battered hulls groaning under the strain of constant travel. The survivors were exhausted, their bodies pushed to the limit by hunger, fatigue, and the weight of everything they had endured. But there was no time to rest. Every moment brought new dangers: asteroid fields, radiation storms, and the ever-present threat of the hunters' return. Logan sat hunched in his seat, staring out at the endless expanse of stars. His mind replayed the battle with the Reaper ship over and over again. He couldn't shake the image of the Zirin shielding him from the explosion, its massive form absorbing the brunt of the blast. It had saved him, not just once, but multiple times now. Yet it wasn't gratitude that weighed on Logan's thoughts. It was responsibility. The Zirin was powerful, yes, but it was also a weapon, a tool designed for destruction. And somehow that tool had chosen him as its master. "You're quiet," Maya said, breaking the silence. She sat across from him, her face pale but determined. "Thinking about what happened back there." Logan nodded slowly. "Yeah. About the Zirin. About us. I keep wondering, is this what we're meant to do now? Keep running, fighting, What happens when we can't anymore? Maya sighed, leaning back against the wall. Honestly, I don't know. None of us signed up for this. But here we are. You've got that thing. She gestured toward the Zirin, which lay curled up near Logan. And Virex says it's bonded to you. So maybe the question isn't what happens when we can't fight. Maybe it's how far you're willing to go to protect it. Logan frowned, glancing at the Zirin. It looked almost peaceful in its sleep. Its glowing eyes dimmed and its wings folded neatly against its body. But Logan knew better than to let his guard down. Beneath that calm exterior was a creature capable of incredible violence and loyalty. Don't want to be responsible for something like that, Logan admitted quietly. But I don't think I have a choice. Maya didn't respond right away. Instead, she turned her attention to Virex, who was lying on a makeshift cot nearby. The alien's injuries hadn't improved much, but it seemed more alert than before. Its eyes followed the conversation intently, though it didn't speak. What about you? Logan asked, addressing Virex directly. You've been telling us to run, to hide. Is that all there is? Just surviving until the hunters catch up? Virex hesitated, its breathing shallow. Then, after a long pause, it spoke. Not just survive, fight. Fight? Logan echoed, his voice rising slightly. Against who? The hunters? We barely made it out of that last fight alive. Virex shook its head weakly. Not only hunters, Zirin needs purpose, needs war. Logan stared at the alien, trying to process its words. You mean, it's not enough to just keep it safe? It has to fight? Yes, Virex replied, its tone firm despite its frailty. Zirin born for battle. Without it, becomes unstable. Dangerous. Logan glanced at the sleeping Zirin, again his chest tightening. He had seen hints of instability already, the aggressive behavior, the growing size and strength. If Virex was right, then keeping the Zirin idle wasn't an option. But using it as a weapon felt wrong, even if it had saved them countless times. Before he could dwell on it further, the pod's sensors beeped sharply. Maya rushed to check the display, her expression darkening as she read the data. We've got company, she announced grimly. 2 ships closing fast. Logan swore under his breath. Are they hunters? I don't know, Maya replied, adjusting the controls. They're smaller than the Reaper ship, but still armed. Could be scavengers, or worse. The pods weren't equipped for another fight. Their fuel was nearly gone, and their weapons were limited to basic tools and scraps. Even with the Zirin's help, they wouldn't stand a chance against 2 fully armed vessels. We need to land somewhere, Logan said quickly. Find cover. Maya scanned the area, searching for a suitable location. There's a derelict station up ahead. Looks abandoned, but it might give us some protection. Without hesitation, she set a course for the station, the pods sputtering as they approached. The structure loomed in the distance, its skeletal frame covered in rust and debris. It looked ancient, like it had been left behind centuries ago. As they landed, the 2 incoming ships slowed down, circling cautiously. They're watching us, Maya muttered, gripping the controls tightly. Think they'll follow? They will, Virex rasped, its voice barely audible. Prepare. The group disembarked quickly, moving into the shadows of the decaying station. The air inside was stale and cold, filled with the scent of decay and metal. Dust coated every surface, and the walls were scarred with signs of past battles. Whoever had lived here hadn't left peacefully. Logan led the way, the Zirin close behind him. Its presence was both comforting and intimidating, its glowing eyes cutting through the darkness. As they explored the station, they found traces of old technology, broken consoles, shattered screens, and scattered equipment. Some of it might still be useful if they could repair it. This place is a death trap, Maya whispered, her voice echoing faintly. If those ships come in here, we're sitting ducks. They won't come in alone, Logan replied, his gaze fixed on the entrance. They'll send drones first. We'll have to take them out quietly. The Zirin growled softly, sensing his intent. Logan knelt beside it, placing a hand on its armored side. We need to work together. Can you handle the drones without making too much noise? The Zirin tilted its head, then gave a low rumble of agreement. Logan nodded, feeling a surge of determination. They might not have much, but they had each other, and that was enough. Sure enough, within minutes, the sound of tiny footsteps echoed through the corridors. Drones entered the station, their red lights scanning the area. Logan signaled for everyone to stay hidden while the Zirin crept forward silently. With swift, precise movements, it dismantled the drones one by one, leaving nothing but scrap metal in its wake. When the last drone fell, the group regrouped in the central chamber. The tension was palpable, but there was also a sense of accomplishment. For the first time since leaving Titan, they had taken control of a situation, rather than simply reacting to it. "We can't stay here forever," Maya said, breaking the silence. "Sooner or later, they'll figure out what happened and come in force." Logan nodded, his mind racing. "Then we make a stand. Use the station's layout to our advantage. Set traps, ambush them, make them regret coming after us." Maya raised an eyebrow. "You sure about this? It's risky." "It's all we've got," Logan replied firmly. "Besides, we've got the Zirin, and it's starting to feel like maybe, just maybe, we were meant for this." As the group prepared for the inevitable confrontation, Logan allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. Life had changed in ways he never imagined. He wasn't just a linguistics student anymore. He was a survivor, a fighter, and whether he liked it or not, the Zirin had become his partner, a bond forged in fire and blood. Outside, the two ships waited, their crews unaware of the storm brewing within the derelict station. When they finally entered, they would find more than they bargained for. The derelict station was eerily quiet as Logan and his group prepared for the fight of their lives. The Zirin prowled the corridors, its glowing eyes scanning every shadow, every corner. It moved with a predator's grace, ready to strike at a moment's notice. Logan watched it closely, marveling at how much it had changed since that first day on Titan. Back then, it had been small and seemingly harmless, a creature he could hold in his arms. Now it was a towering force of nature, its presence both terrifying and awe-inspiring. Maya worked quickly, rigging traps throughout the station using whatever scraps they could salvage. Broken pieces of machinery became makeshift explosives. Tripwires were strung across doorways and loose panels were propped up to create ambush points. Virex, though weak, offered guidance whenever possible, pointing out weaknesses in the station's layout that could be exploited. "We can't rely on brute force alone," Maya said as she adjusted one of the traps. "We need to outsmart them." Logan nodded, glancing at the Zirin. "It'll handle the close combat. We just need to keep them off balance." Virex added softly, "Zirin thrives in chaos. Use it." As the hours passed, the tension grew thicker. Everyone stayed alert, listening for any sign of movement outside. Finally, the sound came, a faint hum, followed by the hiss of airlocks opening. The enemy ships had docked and their crews were entering the station. "They're here," Logan whispered, gripping a piece of metal he'd fashioned into a crude weapon. "Everyone stay sharp." The first wave of attackers moved cautiously, their boots echoing through the empty halls. They wore sleek armor and carried energy rifles, their movements precise and calculated. Clearly, they weren't scavengers. They were professionals. Mercenaries, perhaps, or even another group sent by the hunters. Logan signaled for the Zirin to wait, letting the enemies walk deeper into the station. When the first group stepped onto a rigged floor panel, the trap sprang to life. Panels collapsed beneath them, sending several falling into a pit filled with jagged debris. Shouts erupted as the rest of the team scrambled to regroup. "Now!" Logan shouted. The Zirin roared, leaping from the shadows and tearing through the remaining attackers. Its claws slashed through armor like paper, and its wings created gusts of wind that knocked others off their feet. Logan and Maya took advantage of the confusion, firing makeshift projectiles and detonating other traps to thin out the numbers. But the mercenaries weren't easily deterred. Reinforcements poured in, armed with heavier weapons. Energy blasts, lit up the dark corridors, forcing the group to retreat further into the station. The Zirin fought fiercely, but even it couldn't hold back an endless tide of enemies. "We can't keep this up forever," Maya yelled over the chaos, ducking behind cover as a blast narrowly missed her head. Logan gritted his teeth, his mind racing. There had to be a way to turn the tide. Then he remembered something Virex had said earlier, about the Zirin thriving in chaos. An idea began to form. "Follow me," Logan called, motioning for the Zirin to join him. He led them toward the central chamber, where the station's old reactor still hummed faintly. If they could overload it, they might create enough destruction to drive the mercenaries away, or at least buy themselves time to escape. Maya understood immediately. "You're insane," she muttered, but she didn't argue. Together they worked to disable the safety protocols while the Zirin guarded the entrance, holding off wave after wave of attackers. When the reactor started to destabilize, alarms blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed, bathing everything in a sinister glow. The mercenaries hesitated, realizing what was happening. Some tried to flee while others doubled down, desperate to stop Logan and his group. "It's done," Maya shouted, pulling Logan away from the controls. "Let's go." But Logan hesitated, looking at the Zirin. "Can you hold them off long enough for us to get out?" The Zirin growled low, its glowing eyes fixed on him. It gave a single nod before turning back to face the oncoming horde. "No," Logan said firmly, stepping forward. "Not without me." Maya grabbed his arm. "Are you crazy? You'll die." "I'm not leaving it behind," Logan replied, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. "It's saved us too many times. I won't abandon it now." Reluctantly, Maya backed away, dragging Virex with her. "Fine, but don't do anything stupid." Logan turned back to the Zirin, placing a hand on its armored side. "Let's finish this." Together they charged into the fray, creating a wall of destruction that forced the mercenaries to retreat. The Zirin unleashed its full power, roaring as it tore through the enemy ranks. Logan fought alongside it, swinging his makeshift weapon with surprising skill. For a brief moment, it felt like they were unstoppable. Then the reactor exploded. Massive shockwave rippled through the station, collapsing walls and sending debris flying everywhere. Logan shielded his face as heat washed over him, the force of the blast knocking him off his feet. When the dust settled, he found himself lying on the ground, the Zirin standing protectively over him. The mercenaries were gone, their ships retreating into the void. The station was in ruins, but they were alive. Maya and Virex emerged from their hiding spot, coughing and covered in soot. "Is everyone okay?" Maya asked, her voice trembling. Logan nodded, climbing to his feet. "We're alive. That's all that matters." Virex looked at the Zirin, its expression unreadable. "Bond complete," it rasped. "No longer weapon. Partner." Logan glanced at the Zirin, which let out a soft rumble. For the first time, he didn't feel fear or doubt. This wasn't just a monster, it was a companion, a partner. And together, they had proven that even in the darkest corners of space, survival was possible. As the survivors limped toward the remaining pods, Logan allowed himself a small smile. The road ahead would be difficult, but they had each other. And sometimes that was enough. Years later, stories spread across the stars about a lone human riding a winged creature, defending colonies from invaders. Some called it a myth, others a legend. But those who knew better whispered one name, the Tamer, and somewhere in the vastness of space the Zirin remembered. It waited, ready for whatever came next.